Hi, everybody. You're listening to podcast episode number 4. I'm Megan, and alongside Jen O'Hara, we are your hosts for the Small Business Bootcamp podcast. This is the final part of a 3-part series with our business partner, mentor, and Kids First founder, Jeff Metzger. This podcast will jump off right where we ended podcast episode number 3, talking with Jeff about retirement and preparing yourself and your business. Let's jump right in. Okay.
That was a lot. It's like we relived it a little bit.
Do you all have that? Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can I reverse this? First do you, and it's 2 questions. The first is do you have any different view of the COVID and the transition and how it happened? Did it feel differently to you than what I described?
I can start on that. No, is the short answer. And I think our company, because of you, runs in such a way that when you talk about delegation and it is built into that transition, whether it's a department or whether it's executive or whether it's the operations. And so it was quick. It was a quick decision with a quick turnaround. But I think Megan and I were both emotionally prepared, and we were prepared with our ability to make decisions and ability to connect with the staff and to forward think because of the way this company runs. So as you were talking, I was actually in my mind going back to why did it feel so right at that time? Mm-hmm. And I think that's because intentionally or otherwise, we were so prepared for that next step. When we talk about delegation and delegating responsibility here, there is no hands-on micromanaging and questioning. So I have been here for 23 years in different capacities, department leader in a team program and department leader in an instructional program. And now going through COVID as well as the president of the company. And during that time, I have never had you micromanaging my decisions or my mistakes. You have always been accessible, and you've always been a resource, and you've always been a wise advisor. But I think that ability to be a complete hands-off mentor allows anyone in this company to thrive, and that included us sitting here in this position.
Mm-hmm. And I think because of the way that you had led the company and led our department leaders, when March happened, when we were when March happened, you weren't sitting in this office any longer, really, on a day-to-day basis. And when those decisions had to be made about the closures or the layoffs, Jen and I sitting in this office and having those were pivotal moments for us with those department leaders in this room, all on one team all together. And I think that there was no need for there was no shift. There was no shift that was needed for them to maybe say, well, instead of going to Jeff, I'm going to Jeff, Jen, and Megan. I think
no opportunity for that to happen.
Yeah, I think they just naturally saw that this is the way we're going now. We all have to be in this together. I hate that phrase, but that's really what we just had to move forward, and we had to do it together. And there was no questions of, is Jeff going to be here? Is it, it was just, okay, this is what we're doing. Jen and Megan are here. This is what we're doing. And I think for all of us, it was just that moment of, it didn't matter. We had a goal, we had a focus, and this is what we need right now. And tomorrow, this is what we're going to need. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And then when it was getting ready to reopen, it was the same thing. It was us in those meetings with them saying, guys, this is where we're at. This is where we have to go. And it just naturally moved that way. And it was very, I think, you talked about there had to be you letting go and the staff letting go, and COVID just it did make that a natural, it just had to happen. Mm-hmm. There was no, okay, guys, today Jeff isn't here anymore. It just happened and it worked.
If I can rephrase, and you know me, because you know me, that you know that I wouldn't be second guessing your decisions, but then there's always you second guessing your decisions because would Jeff have done it that way, or would Jeff agree? And that's part of a transition. That's a psychological issue. Well, I think COVID just took that right off the table. And so that probably made it easy. Yeah.
And I think
easier for you.
Your words to us were, I've never been through a COVID. I don't have maybe the answers that you think I have. I think those were something like that. It was like, and we're, Jen and I are saying like, well, you have 40 plus years of experience. And you're like, but I've still never been through a pandemic. You're going to be in the same spot I am, and you can make, you're at the pulse of it right now.
I mean, the question came down to, and often should come down to, who's better equipped to make the decision. And I was not better equipped to make the decision. You were. Out of circumstances, you were better equipped to make COVID decisions. And so you had to do it. The staff saw it, and you became, in short weeks, I went from Jeff as the president and leader to you guys are the leaders. So it happened. It was condensed, and probably, again, looking back, wow, not a bad thing at all.
And I would say there were a couple of subtleties that made a huge impact on that and the way that the leadership staff saw us. And that was our board of advisors meeting that we delayed a bit, obviously, but you letting that be our meeting and
saying I'm not going to be there yet.
Right. And I think both of us felt a little bit of vulnerability because that made it very real.
Yeah.
Also in those big moments where it was the department leaders in this office with us and the former president was missing. I think that helped to transition their mindset almost immediately.
Yeah, and it was a circumstance that's a difficult process. Anybody that's going to go through that, has gone through it, knows it's a difficult process for leadership change. All right, it's difficult for the leader that has to let go. It's difficult for the new leaders that are coming and taking those responsibilities, and it's difficult for those folks that are looking to lead those leaders and have to make that shift there. COVID accelerated that for us, and we'd have done it well anyway because that's who we are, and we understand. What delegation means. So we'd have done it well. As a matter of fact, we were doing it well. And we'd have got it done in that year and a half. But it would have taken longer. It would have probably been more painful.
Right.
Because the pain was not in the transition. The pain was in the COVID decisions. I mean, any pain that you were feeling by, gosh, should I be making those decisions? And what would Jeff do? Any of that? Okay. Yeah, maybe you had that, but you got to make there you got this pressure of the COVID decision. You can't afford to dwell on that. And so, yeah. So I don't recommend the COVID for a calamity like this, for somebody to speed up a transition of leadership. But as it turned out for us, it's worked out. It's helped, made it quicker. We'd have done it well. This made it quicker, more complete, in less time.
Yeah. COVID aside,
now and they say people introduce themselves to me now.
How are you, sir? Are you here to see someone?
Careful in the gym. We have some unstable surfaces.
That's so funny. So COVID aside, to gym owners, I guess just to maybe give them some takeaways. If they are in that phase now, as you were maybe a few years ago, or you had been working on that exit strategy for a long time, but what are some of those key things that they need to keep in mind, or those nuggets of advice or wisdom that they might need as they form that strategy and as they go to execute it now? They're not going to hopefully have another COVID that's just going to force these new leaders in. And for some, maybe it is just selling the business completely and exiting. But what would you say to them as they begin to form that?
Right. Okay. Foundationally, I can think of two components foundationally to that answer, and the first is truly learn how. First of all, intellectually, you must learn what delegation is and what delegation isn't, and I have stressed that multiple times. Here I go again, but I know from example, people. I would say. The large majority of small business owners do not understand the difference between delegating and relegating, and they're handing a task to somebody and they think they're delegating. And that mistake, that confusion between the two is a problem creator. Mm-hmm. You relegate responsibilities, which includes the decision making that goes along with fulfilling the responsibility. You delegate a task. When you delegate a task,
you flip them up.
I'm sorry, pardon me. I confused those. You relegate a task, meaning that once that task is completed by that person, you still have, if you will, the burden of the responsibility on your shoulder. Mm-hmm. You have not given the burden of the decision making. And here we go. I've got to introduce that second leg of the stool. The accountability, in other words, the results of that decision making, you have maintained that. When you just relegate the task, you still have the burden of the responsibility next time, and the accountability if it went wrong or right. So when you delegate, that other party now has the burden of the responsibility and the burden, or in some cases, it's not a burden. In some cases, it's a delightful feeling of self-accomplishment of the accountability. What were the results of that? And so you ask about exit planning and succession planning. Well, that's number one. Foundationally is learn to delegate. Mm-hmm. And first, that's an intellectual process first, and then it's and certain personalities, the controlling personality. First of all, by the way, if this mechanical engineers are controllers, all right, and there's a tendency for engineers to be controllers. They're thinkers. They're detailed. They think through every process, and sometimes they get to the point where they think they know the better way to do it for everybody. Okay, now I may say a little tongue in cheek, but anybody that's married to an engineer probably is chuckling right now. All right, so engineers are not by nature good delegators. They have to learn. So that fundamentally. Then the other thing fundamentally is start to understand finances of a business. Start to understand and think in terms of the performance of the business in relative terms, and get familiar with terms such as return on investment and return on equity, and how to calculate that, and how to assess the return on investment of a decision. And as you begin to be able to do that, not only you make better decisions along the way, and so your business grows, but you begin to understand that thing I spoke about earlier, which was ultimately when it does come time to sell a business, however it's going to be sold, that you have understood along the way how to assess the value of a business and how to build value in a business, so that now you've got the financial understanding of what goes behind a strong business. And that involves some numbers and some math, and it's not rocket science. It is concepts. The math is easy. The concepts take some working with. All right. For some people comes easier than others. But yet you've got to understand what the financial health in a business means. You got to be able to read your P&L so that you can build value into your business. You understand how to delegate, and you understand how to build value in your business along the way. All right. Then you can start to look at the details that I just talked about, mm-hmm. and what might work well for your business and your situation. But to focus on those details, if you don't understand those first two fundamental pieces of the puzzle, then the details will fail. So when you say, how do you exit? Learn how to delegate early. What does early mean? Now, today. Okay. You can't turn back the clock, but you can start now, and then understand the financial inner workings of your business, how to value a business, and and I'll put in a shameless plug for boot camp. Both of those are such huge components. And that is, let me put it another way. Let's not put it in the form of a plug. That is why so much of the boot camp curriculum is dedicated to those two thoughts there, is understanding the financial inner workings of a business in general. And of course, then in particular, your business, and then understanding what leadership is and what delegation is, and forging through all the emotional issues that make delegating and leadership so difficult. It's not easy. If it were easy, everybody'd do it. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah. So now, do you have a question?
Well, not specific to that. Moving on. I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Are you ready? Did you have something to add?
Nope. Go for it.
Well, you're now our senior advisor.
By title.
Founder and still the controlling owner of Kids First.
Yes.
So what does retirement look like and feel like for Jeff Metzger?
In 2021.
In 2021,
yeah. This last year, COVID was a stressful year, and I got to say that the stresses of COVID for me began to wane much sooner than it did for you two, because once we figured out the financial issues and got the cash put away and conserved. And then we got back in business.
Reopened, right.
So there was a light at the end of that tunnel. It's still pretty distant. The stress began to wane for me there. Now, I still had legacy issues to clean up with the banks over all this, and I'm still working on that. Nothing urgent or nothing, no one thing that's a big deal. So people have asked me that, outside of you, friends. So I don't even feel like I'm retired because I'm just as busy. By the way, that's my nature. I'll be just as busy because, I'll turn my professional mind, if you will. I did in June. I've never had put any significant energy into a stock portfolio, if you will. Starting in June, that changed completely. And so, I'm a 2 or 3 hour a day reader, that's, if you will, conventional and unconventional investing. So that's and I can occupy my mind very easily. And as I mentioned, I'm an avid pickleball player. So I just had this surgery because my pickleball game was hurting. So I got to the point where I couldn't play every day. And I didn't like that, so I'm going to try to fix that. So the idea being, so that, that's a big, sports, participation in sports, all right? Not spectator. I'm no spectator, but participation in sports has been a big part of my life. Gymnastics, handball, and now pickleball. So that has and will, in 2 or 3 more months, occupy a big part of my time and my energy. So there's now what else? Okay. I don't know whether I mentioned this to you guys or not. As I mentioned it here on our podcast, that we just built a $6.25 million. It was a 54,000 square foot addition to our 108,000 current 108, or to our we have 108,000 square foot Kids First, and then the sister building is the Ronnie Granson basketball and volleyball and basketball academy at 54,000 square feet. Now that building started just 10 years ago, if you will. Well, we just opened it January 2nd of 20, as I mentioned, a year ago, but the whole thing started when I started very quietly buying real estate, residential real estate to our east, and first one piece and then another piece, and so in that there's 13 homes in that residential neighborhood, and 6 of them. When I got the 6th one, that's when I started. As soon as I got a pivotal one, that's when I started to design the grandest and the basketball, right? Okay. So that culminated. Well, you all know, but not many people know, I still own some property over there. Back behind there, I own a 1 acre, actually 2 half-acre plots. And then have if you will, a soft promise on one next door from our township. And then, as you know, there's that one pivotal house, that basically I have surrounded there. I have reason to think that house is likely to be coming onto the market, and there's only one buyer. And I say that because it has no residential value where it any longer, and it has no commercial value because it's what how we call a panhandle lot. It's only street frontage is just the width of its driveway, and I own 360 degrees around it. And you cannot use a panhandle lot for commercial. So it has zero commercial value to anybody in the world. It might have some residential value to somebody, but it has more commercial value to me. So I have made some soft, recent. Okay, I've made over the years. I've made overtures to obtain that, and I've recently Joni's going to be working on that, and so we obtain that particular, that's an acre piece. All right, so that would give me 3 more acres basically. I say give us, Kids First, give us 3 more acres. Right now we sit on, 13 and a half acres. The original piece was 9. The basketball is 4.5. And so now we would have, so what would that give us? That would give us an 18-acre campus. So what would that, what's that 3 acres going to be? Well, we don't know for sure, but that's there. Now I'm in my sweet spot. This is what I'm going to be. This is what I enjoy doing. Would be, assembling that piece, and then figuring out what that 3 acres could or should be. And the one thing, the working thing right now is the most likely, and there's a lot of things got to happen before it could happen, but would be to assemble those 3 acres. And in an earlier piece of this discussion, I mentioned the campus at Kids First. That's our early learning center. It's a 5,000 square foot carved out piece under the Kids First roof that operates as a separate entity that is an early learning center for infants through kindergartens, an accredited kindergarten. It's 5,000 square feet. It's prescribed that we can have, I think it's 98 students. The campus is at capacity and it wants to grow. The demand, we have the job that my daughter Joni, my partner, co-founder, and daughter Joni, and her crew have done to make the campus a premier operation here in this part of the city certainly has been amazing, and it wants to grow, and there is no place to grow inside of the Kids First roof. So how do we then take that 3 acres and create something really, really special? I'm looking at a nature-based early learning center. So we've got, I've got some, actually I have, basically I can say our contractor who we've used many, many times, Cincinnati United Contractors. Brian is now, I asked Brian to start working on a site plan. Obviously I'm getting a little out over my skis on that, but I said, Brian, I'd like a site plan of this assembled, if you will. And I want all the tree placement. There's a lot of big, beautiful trees on that. So I'd like tree placement there so we can begin to map out, how to put a nature-based, early learning center on that piece of property. Now, who knows what might happen. Maybe that project will find, will come to some sort of halt for some reason. Maybe I won't get that other piece of land, like I'm optimistically thinking we will. So we don't know, but there we go. So what's 2021? That project started about a week ago. All right.
Clearly, you're taking it easy in retirement, not doing a whole heck of a lot.
I'm keeping my mind very busy, and because of this surgery here, I can't be too physical. So it's mostly, if you will, it's cerebral activity. But I don't have any problem with that. Not that I'm terribly cerebral, but I don't have any problem staying cerebrally active, if you will. We'll see. So I have no problems with that. And then add Penny and I a year ago before COVID, just before COVID, we went down to Florida and we bought an RV. We put a deposit down to have a new RV made. And when COVID hit, I called, said, wait a minute, man, we're calling that off. The guy was great. It's a small family, kind of a custom shop almost. And he said, we'll give you back your deposit or we'll keep it and you can get back in line when you want. And I said, well, let's do that. Let's go ahead and keep the deposit. And he said, we'll give it back whenever you want. So I said, you know what, let's do that. So around about, we said, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead with that. As things began. So we'll be picking up an RV. Now, by the way, we're not going to be full-time RVers, but that's not my cup of tea. But 2 and 3 week trips here and there. It's a medium-sized RV, that's maneuverable. So we'll make,
you guys and Booker will be heading out on the road.
Booker the Labradoodle will be heading out there. This will, it's pertinent, the two guys, this will shock you. Here's a shocker you don't know anything about. And that is we are likely be selling the lake house. I made an offhand comment during the COVID moment, some months ago, when the realtor said to me, he says, you're not going to believe it, the lakefront property on Lake Norris in Tennessee, lakefront property, you can't get it. He said, I got buyers, but I don't have any sellers. So I said to him in a very casual conversation, if you can net me X amount, I'll be a seller. And I thought X amount would be,
impossible,
ridiculous. And, well, by golly, and he didn't do anything. He tried to sell it. I said, we'll do this a handshake deal. You net me this amount. So he tried to sell it without putting on the list, because we got good friends down there on the listing service, and no sign. No sign, no listing. If you can find a buyer under those conditions, that's fine. Well, in early January, he said, I'm going to list this, if you would. Let me list this. Then, okay, go ahead and list it. So what if our friends find out that our house is on the market? It's going to have to, we got all that paperwork done through, and he put a price on it, a nice commission for himself on top of the net that I said I'd be a seller at. And within 3 days, he had an offer for that amount, and it looks like a strong buyer. So that, I'd say I'd put the odds, and you all know this is a joke around Kids First. The listeners don't know, but yet, when we get into a project, what's the odds of this happening, right? Okay. And I remember when we started the basketball project, I'd put the odds at 20%.
Right.
You got a 20% chance that this happens. A lot can happen. Those odds crept up to 50 and then 80, and then it was 90. And, I said, hey, listen, I think this thing might happen. So I put the odds of that selling at 10% when I got, and it quickly went to 20 and 30, and I don't know now the odds, I'd put it at 60, 80%. So
wow. If
it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm happy either way. The cash, we just a wonderful padding for COVID. But no longer really necessary. At the time when I made the statement, it felt necessary. But, I'm pretty, I said it. So that's what we're going to do. If it doesn't work, I'm good with that too. So anyway, so that'd be a change. So we've got the RV up, but, I want to get back, I'd like to play more competitive at pickleball. I couldn't, I'm a top 70-year-old player, but and I play a lot of younger folks, but I'd like to play better, but I couldn't earlier because I couldn't play multiple days in a row because this pain from this long time neck injury was too great. So now I'm hoping to become a everyday player again here, and other than that, there'll be something. I mean, if that doesn't fill my time, what I've just offered there, I have zero concerns about finding something interesting and productive to fill my time. So, yeah, I'd be very excited about a project here behind to complete our campus.
Yeah.
That would be very exciting to me, and I think a good business opportunity. And I think the campus is ready. Joni's on to go back to a theme. Here we have a campus. We are heavy on management because Joni, my daughter, co-founder and the president of the company, but she is no longer the director. Beth, she's delegated that responsibility to Beth, and so she has an assistant director, and Beth has assistant director Stephanie. All three of them, Joni, of course, strong people, and for a 5,000 square foot, early learning center that licensed for less than 100 kids. That's heavy. That's heavy management. We know that. Well, that's very strategic. And we're still the numbers are good, but if we knew the campus was going to be 5,000 square feet as it is now, we'd get rid of some of that management wage because it really isn't necessary. But it's there for
growth.
Yeah, for the future. And now, so is the future here? Maybe so. So that's an exciting project to me.
It is.
That would be exciting.
As soon as Brian gets that site plan, Penny and I were saying, okay, where's the first place we're gonna go? We don't know. I don't know. I don't care. I'm the kind of guy that I kind of like seeing what's up around the next bend. So I point in a direction and heading out is the way I kind of plan. But one thing might be interesting to do, and this thought just came about in the last week. When this other piece, looks like it might be becoming available, is to head out on a research trip and visit. There's some very unique early learning centers across the nation. Some that are nature based and outdoor learning centers, things that Cincinnati hasn't seen, but I know they exist. And I have enough contacts in the industry to be able to sleuth them up. So, there'd be an interesting trip for Penny and Booker and I to head out and go, research. So then we can then begin to map out what this could be. So there, if that doesn't work, who knows? Who knows? There's a possibility, literal, not likely. If there's a 20% chance of the campus expanding on that land, I'll put a 5% chance of that being an indoor, pickleball facility, even restaurant. Now that's really early.
I wasn't ready for that.
No, you wouldn't be ready
transition.
For that. And that's why it's only 5%.
Pickleball in the restaurant.
I don't even know whether our township would allow that in that location, which is a big issue. I feel pretty confident about the early learning center since we've kind of commandeered this corner. This corner. But the point is that if the campus doesn't work out, something else will.
Right. That's perfect space though for that kind of an expansion.
It could be. Who knows what'll happen?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
We've covered a lot.
We sure have.
We have
had a lot of fun.
We've covered a lot. I do want to end on. One thing that we're going to do for each guest, I think we're going to try and do some rapid fire, just a few quick hitting questions. So we'll end here and then we'll wrap it up. Do you have a favorite quote?
Oh man, and I'd say I have a lot of them. In matters of style, swim with the current. It's emotional. Mm-hmm. That's how much impact this had on me. In matters of principle, stand like a rock. Well, when my interpretation of that is probably pretty obvious, but my personal interpretation of that is, well, Metzger, you better figure out what the difference between principle and style. Mm. And you better more firmly establish your personal principles. And then the business principles too. And someday maybe we'll sit and talk about the kids' first value system and the 26 points and our 7 unifying principles. Now not being necessarily the time, but yet, so you better be principled. And I remember at that time, part of that thinking, okay, that's, by the way, Thomas Jefferson. Mm-hmm. Part of that thinking was and I had in my life, I had run across not a lot. I've had a good life filled with good people in it. So I haven't had a lot of people of integrity issues. Okay. But I have, okay, but not a lot. And at the time I had a one or two, and I thought, I will no longer, I don't care what the reward may look like. Okay, what kind of prize there might be at the end of the rainbow from a dollar or business standpoint. I will no longer deal with people that lack integrity. And integrity meaning integrating the outside self, the actions with who you say you are. I will not, and either one or two things will happen if I find somebody that lacks integrity in my life. Either I will leave the situation, or the other party will leave the situation, depending on what's appropriate. Okay, and in one of the cases, I had to leave the situation, and in the other case, I had to invite the other party out of my life, and so I just decided that we'll not do it. It's non-negotiable, and so it kind of stems forth from that. I mean, many things stem forth from that quote of Thomas Jefferson: "Matters of style swim with the current, and matters of principle stand like a rock."
Do you have any favorite book or anything you're currently reading?
I have not read a lot that I have. When I had that vertigo attack I had 5 years ago, all right, nobody knows the cause of that, and it included double vision. And since the acute phase of that, calmed down, I still have vertigo 100% of the time, right? Which is it's a non-issue because my body, I've compensated for it. Maybe it's shaved a couple points off a pickleball game, but in general, it's a non-issue. Whereas I don't have double vision, I do have difficulties converging. All right, so bottom line is reading is less pleasurable for me. So most of the books that I have read in my life, have been in the previous 5 years. So I'm just going to probably one of the most impactful books I read has nothing to do with business. I have read dozens and dozens of business books. But The Road Less Traveled, Emma Scott Peck.
Okay. Do you have a favorite tool, whether physical or digital, that's made your life easier?
Oh boy. Favorite tool, digital? I curse my computer and my phone when it's acting up. There's parts of it that's brought. No, I cannot. If I said a computer, then you'd see me at a different moment if I were having systems issues, and I'd be practicing the discus with it. So
okay. And then finally, any particular piece of advice or any resonant nugget of wisdom that stuck with you for a long time?
Most of my mentors were from books. All right. I didn't, I just didn't have any business mentors. I was felt I was a lone ranger in that era, and then here in Cincinnati, and I didn't have. Now today, I guess I would say, I've got business, colleagues, you being, top among them, that I could put in that, I suppose, in that category. But during the more formative years, most of my mentors were books and, the authors, I should say, of the books. So, other than, I'm probably, I have to go back and say, you've heard me talk about Whitey Moore. Mm-hmm. So I put, my, first coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jeff, it hasn't been a, interview without tears today. So, thank you for coming in. Thank you for everything you've done for us. I don't think we can put into words exactly what you've meant to us, but we will love to have you back on another time. You've given us so many topics, and I'm sure that our listeners will have topics that they'll want to have expounded on, and we can devote some specific episodes to that. But until next time, thanks.
Thank you.
Jen, Megan, thank you. Thank you. And I'd love to come back and share. As you can tell, I love to teach, and so again, that's what we're doing here. And if it can help somebody a little bit, that's a great thing.
All right, we're signing off.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for watching today's episode of the Small Business Bootcamp Podcast. We are so thankful for Jeff's wisdom and faith in us as we move forward at Kids First. Jen and I make up half of our executive team at Kids First Sports Center, located in Cincinnati, Ohio. Kids First has been in business for almost 50 years and is a leader in the children's instructional services industry. Twice a year, we host our Small Business Bootcamp with our partner, mentor, and Kids First founder, Jeff Metzger. Bootcamp is a 3.5-day total immersion business seminar. For more information about our Small Business Bootcamp, go to www.metzgerbootcamp.com. Our next bootcamp will be held May 20th through the 24th, 2021. We hope to see you there. Thanks for tuning in, and subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Google, or Apple Podcasts. Until next time, stay positive and keep moving forward.